Hi, I'm Chloe Menage. I'm delighted to be an ambassador for the Beadworkers Guild International Beading Week. To celebrate, I'm bringing you a brand new project, and this one's themed around tassels. These are my Flair earrings. The project uses rivolis, which are bezeled and added with added embellishment, and then beautiful tassels for statement earrings that you can wear with pride. They also make great pendants. You can use the components themselves just as a dainty pendant or some dainty earrings, or go the whole way with all the tassels for some real statement flair. You'll find lots more inspiration over on my website, and you can join me on Facebook and on Instagram. You can see the details for that below. So let's get started. So you're going to need 2 tassels. You can have them of any size that you like. I've used small ones before, dinky little ones here. And I've also used these nice larger ones as well. You're going to need 3mm glass pearls or druk beads, so any kind of round 3mm bead is going to be fine. 2 14mm rivolis. You can use Swarovski, Preciosa, or even the Chinese ones. Just check the width because they can be slightly deeper here. You may need to adjust your bezel to fit that. You're going to need size 11 and size 15 seed beads. I'm using my Yuki here. If you're using Toho, that's fine. Just remember, don't mix the 2 brands together for this particular project. You're going to cut yourself a nice long length of thread and stretch it out between your fingers. Don't cut too long a length, we can easily add thread in later, don't get yourself in a tangle, but just a comfortable working length of thread, and run that through your wax. And we're going to start by creating the bezel for your Rivoli to sit in, and to do that we're going to pick up 32 of the size 11 seed beads. And it's worth double counting this amount a few times because you don't want to get this wrong. It's very easy to pick up 34 or 31, and you don't always find out until you've almost finished your second row of peyote. So this is a really basic peyote bezel. I use it for a lot of my projects. So if you're having a look through my tutorials, you'll see that there's a lot of projects that use these. So if you are stuck, this is a good video to come to just as a basic for creating a peyote bezel. So I'm just going to count those now. I think that looks about right, maybe too many. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 32. So I would count those a couple of times just to make sure you've definitely got the correct amount. And then when you're happy, you're going to take those down to the end of your thread. I would leave yourself a tail thread. It's always handy to have one of about 15 centimetres, and go through these beads here. Just a couple of them, basically just to join that together into a ring like that. And we are going to now do our peyote. So you're picking up a bead, skipping the next one in the ring, and going through the one after. And I like to work around my finger when I'm doing this. It keeps it all quite tight. And we're just going to do that all the way around the band, pulling tight after every stitch, and that will help keep your tension nice and tight. So now we're back to the beginning, and you can see if you've gone wrong or if you've miscounted, because what you should have is skipping one, and that one should come up here with a bead either side. If that's not the case, then you know you've either got too many or too few in the ring, or you've gone wrong somewhere. It's very easy. Have a look back. It's very easy to skip 2 instead of 1, so just check back if you think there's a problem. So I'm going to go through that bead, so I've skipped one in the ring again as there, and then I'm going to step up, and that means passing through the first bead you added in the ring to get into position to start the next row. So I'm going to pull that nice and tight, and you can see I've got this ring, and it might flop about a bit, that's okay. Just keep pulling that nice and tightly, and what we're going to do is fill in these gaps now. So I'm just going to fold those round, try to make sure it's not twisted, but don't worry too much because that can stress people out when they're new to beading. I'm going to pick up one, I'm going to go through the next bead along, pull that nice and tight, and I'm just going to repeat that all the way around. And when I get back to the beginning, I'm going to step up by just passing through that first bead that I added in the round. So just doing that all the way around. So when you get back to the beginning, you're picking up that last bead, going through the last bead in that row below, and then stepping up through that first bead that you added. And you should have a little band like this. And what you've now got is 4 rows of peyote, and I'll just show you how to count those. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm counting them diagonally. So when you created your ring, that was rows 1 and 2, and adding that second bead where you were skipping 1, that's row 3, and now we've added row 4. So you need to add 1 more row of size 11s to create 5 rows of peyote in total, and then what you're going to do is add a row of size 15s in between, and then you're going to work across diagonally across to the other side of the bezel and add another row of size 15s on this side. Before you pull this one tight though, what you want to do is pick up your Rivoli, pop your Rivoli in, hold it in place while you just finish up that row, and once you finish that row, I'll just show you that actually with this one. It's going to be slightly different colours because I've completely run out of white ones, which is why that one is sitting there looking unfinished and a bit sad. I'll make this one a kind of eclectic one. So I'm holding my Rivoli in place like this with my thumb and forefinger, and I'm just going to add those size 15s in. Now depending on your tension, this bit may be a bit tricky, but I promise you I've got a very tight tension, and although it looks like that Rivoli isn't not going to go in, it will. So I'm just going to squish that into place, holding it like this. I'm going to give it a good tug on this side, and then you may need to go around to the back as well and reinforce at some point as well. But just a little bit of manoeuvring and a little bit of pulling, and you can see, there you go. And once it's in, then it's easier to adjust it and make sure it fits. You may want to reinforce that front row if it keeps popping out, so just pass through all of those beads again. And there you have it. So that's what your gauze is going to look like, and I've got a slightly neater one just here that I can show you. So that's with the pretty blue and pink that we were working on. There, so that's nice and secure. So now what we're going to do is add that pretty decoration to the front. So I'll just remind you what that looks like. So we've got this pretty cross shape, and that's created just by adding peyote beads but in certain areas. So I'm just going to show you now how to do that. Let's just switch that needle over again. And we're going to do that to the front of the thread, front of the bezel, sorry. So I'm exiting from one of the size 15s. I'm going to pick up a size 15, go through the next bead along, and do that twice more. Oh, try and not ping the Rivoli across the room. This is where waxing your thread really helps as well, because it can prevent knots. It stops it getting quite as tangly. So I've got 3 there, and then what I'm going to do, once I've got that third one in place, is pass down into the size 11 without adding a bead, and then I'm going to go up through that size 15. I'm going to pick up another one. And I'm going to do 3 again. And this is why it's really important that we have 32 in that initial base, because more or less you won't get this pattern. I'm going to go down again. And I'd repeat that, doing sets of 3 all the way around, and you're going to get that pretty set, those 4 sets of 3. And that's my final one. So I'm going to go down, add that one in, and then go down and up through the first 2 of those size 15s. And you can see there's some spaces along here that I'm now going to fill in. So I'm going to pick up one, go through the next space, pick up one, go through the next space. And now I'm going to go down through the next size 15, the size 11 in the base, and this is where if you're using a 10 needle you may need to switch to a 12 depending on how tight this all is now. And I'm going to go up through those first 2 15s and just repeat the same thing again. And there's lots you can do with experimenting with the colour choices here. So you could try using different colours for these outer bits, and a different colour 15 for the initial row that you do. So there's a lot of different things you can do to play with your colour choices here. So this is the third side. Okay, so now you can see I've done all 4 sides. So just to get that point, what we're going to do is just work up to here. So going through the first 3 of the 15s, and we're going to add a little point. So just by picking up one and going through all those beads. So you're going to work your way all the way down to the base again. And then work around to add one between each of those, and that will give you that pretty pattern here. Okay, so that's that part done. And now what we need to do is create our stitch in the ditch. In fact, I'm just going to show you, I'll finish off this one and then show you the stitch in the ditch separately. We may as well while we're here. So we've got our pattern done, and what I'm now going to do is add the stitch and the ditch. So I'm going to work down to the size 11 row, and I'm going to go down 3 rows. So that's 1, 2, 3. And stitch and the ditch, I'm going to show you this in a different colour so that you can really see the difference with this one. So we're going to pick up one size 11, and you're working into the same row. You're going to pick up one and pass through the next bead in the row. And that's stitch in the ditch. So you're just going to work your way around. Be very careful not to switch rows as you go. So keep them in a nice straight line. And I'm just adding one in that little ditch between the beads. And you can see how that's looking there. And then back to the beginning, I'm going to step up by passing through the very first bead that I added, and that's what that looks like. So now we're going to fill in the gaps, but what we need to make sure first of all is the placement of where we add these pearls is really important. I'm just going to show you 2 examples here. So on this one, I've always got a pearl, or in both of them in fact, you've always got the pearl sitting between. What you can then do later on is you can hang it so that the decoration is straight on, or the diagonal, the point is facing up. So that's just something to bear in mind for future. And this is what happens if you don't take care of where you position these pearls. So on this one, the pearl sits above here, and this one, the pearl sits directly either between the middle of the decoration or between the two sets of decoration. And that's really important because otherwise you're going to get an off-centre project. So what we're going to do is just checking where we're exiting from. So at this point, I'm exiting directly above here, which was perfect. If you're not, then I would either work around to make sure you are exiting above there, or just count backwards. So if you're coming out of here, just make sure you know that will be a seed bead first. So let me just show you what I mean. So I've got my glass pearls. I'm directly above here. I'm going to pick up a 3mm and go through the next stitch in the ditch bead. And there you can see that is directly in line above there, which is perfect. And now I'm going to pick up a size 15 and go through the next bead. And I'm going to repeat this around. So this one will line up nicely above that centre decoration there, between the 2 decorations, and that's where we want them. So just take the time to make sure of that before you finish that row, because it's worth it for a really nice finished piece, a pair of earrings afterwards, and also makes it much easier to make sure that it's symmetrical. I'm just going to repeat this all the way around, alternating the 2. So when you get back to the beginning, you're going to go through the stitch and the ditch bead, and then exit through the pearl. So now we're going to add this decoration around the edge, and we're going to begin building that up. So you're going to start by exiting from one of the tiny size 15 beads that you've just added. And we're going to pick up 2 size 15s and go through that 3mm pearl. And we're going to build this decoration up in stages. We're going to pick up 2 this time and go through the next next size 15, like that, and then pick up 2 and go through the 3mm. So you're repeating that all the way around, picking up 2, going through the size 15. So the final one there, I'm just going to go through that size 15 and step up by passing through the first 2 that I added. So now to create the little points, we're going to pick up 5 and go through all of those seed beads, so those 2, then that little one in between, and the next 2. Now you've got an option here. If you wanted more of a point, you add 5. If you want to make a soft effect, you can add 4. And this might look a bit gappy at this stage, but don't worry too much, it does all come together. So you'd pick up 5 and go through the next, and you're going to do that all the way around. I've gone a bit crazy with the colours on this one, but if you see in the original, what I did is I chose to use 2 colours of size 15, so I've got one colour inside here, and then a contrasting colour around the edge, and that's what I did on this one. So you're going to do that all the way around, and then once you've done that, what you're going to do is add this embellishment, and this embellishment is very easy to do. What we're doing is we're just going to, I'm going to just skip ahead to that, so I'm just going to exit through one of the size 11s just here, and we're adding this between the pearls, so between these 2 here, not here, so it sits over the 2 size 15s and not over the 2 pearls. And you're going to pick up just 2 size 15s, go through the next one, and that's going to create this little pop of colour, and it works nicely if you use a contrast. So for this video I've ended up just using the same colours, but you can add a pop, so I'm going to pass through the 3mm and the next size 11 and just do the same thing there, so picking up 2 and going through, and I'll just show you the differences that you can do. So on this one I used the same colour for the central decoration and the pops of colour, and then a different one on the outside. Same for this one that I just showed you. And then for this one I used the same colour in the centre for the frills, and then a different colour to just that kind of toned in with the pearls to add that little pop of decoration. And it doesn't look like much, but I think it adds just adds a little bit of extra pop to the earrings. So now what we need to do is, once we've finished all of those, what we're going to do is add our tassel. And I'm actually just going to show you that using this one that's already done. So what we're going to do is we're going to exit from the middle bead in one of those frills. I'm just threading up my needle. So the 5th bead in a frill, and we're going to create this pretty little effect here. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to pick up, I'm just going to get some more size 15s, and again this is entirely up to you what you do with the colours here. So I think it's nice to add the 2 different colours and to tone the outside bits in with the frill and these little pops in with these pops here. So that's what I chose to do on this one. So I'm going to match that on here. So we're going to pick up, to begin with, we're working with the second colour, so the pop colour. So I'm going to pick up one of these, and we need 2 3mm pearls for this. So I'm going to pick up 115, one of the pearls, hope if I can get it on the needle, and then 3 more of these, size 15s, and a pearl. And then one more size 15. And I'm going to go back through that central bead, but from the opposite direction, like this. And that looks a bit weird at that moment, but that's okay. And then I'm going to pass through the size 15 and the 3mm, pull that nice and tight, and go through that first bead in the trio. And then I'm going to pick up 3, and this is using the second colour now. I'm going to go through that 3rd bead, and that's going to make that middle one pop out. So I'm just going through the 3rd bead, and if it all pulls out like this, just give it a good tug and get it all snug again. And then I'm going to pick up 5. Again, this is the outer colour now, the frill colour, and I'm going to go through that first of the size 15s there. I'm going to pick up one of my contrast colour and go through that second bead again, so this one on the opposite side. Pull it nice and snug, and then pick up 5 of the contrast, the frill colour again. And you can see how that pretty little motif is all coming together now. And I'm going through the size 15 opposite out just the other side of that pearl, like that. And that's that. And then if you wanted to add a tassel or a drop or any kind of decoration, you're going to go through to exit from the middle bead in that section, pick up enough beads just to go into your tassel, pass through your tassel, pick up enough beads to go round, make sure they're matching on each side, and go through that from the opposite side, that bead, and just reinforce that until it's secure, and then you can work your way back into the work and finish. And now when it comes to adding your earring wire, you've got a couple of options. So you can either exit from the top bead, make a little ring of seed beads and go through your ear wire, or you could add a wire guardian, or you could even add, if you wanted it to be more of a statement, you could add this decoration to the top and then do the loop of beads around your ear wire for an extra long decoration. These also work really nicely as pendants with or without the tassel, or you could use them as bracelet components and use these as like a little joining segment, and you can see how that would really come together there. So you've got lots of options. I hope you really enjoy making your Claire earrings, and I look forward to seeing what you create with them. Don't forget you can tag me on Instagram, and you can also find me on Facebook, and don't forget to share your makes in the International Beading Week group as well.